Hi friends, I was getting a lot of queries about draft to be drawn on whom under LC. This is the biggest challenge I have observed among bankers and professionals working in the area of international banking. Yes, today I'm going to deal with certain very important things about the draft to be drawn on whom under LC. Do you still wonder draft to be drawn on whom when LC is available with nominated bank by side payment or by acceptance? Or LC is available with any bank by side payment or by acceptance. Draft to be drawn on whom when LC is available with issuing bank by side payment or by acceptance, or LC is available with nominated bank by negotiation, or LC is available with any bank by negotiation. Draft to be drawn on whom. Do you wonder that can LC be made available with issuing bank by negotiation? Do you have question that is draft mandatory for LC available by side payment or by negotiation? Or when draft is mandatory and when it is not needed at all? Or when draft to be drawn on nominated bank or confirming bank or issuing bank? Or can side draft be drawn on reimbursing bank? So if you have any question like this, be with me till the end of this video, because today I'm going to clear all your doubts about draft drawn on whom under LC. Let us start, and let us start with some basic principle. And here we go. So here is the example of MT700 message, that is nothing but LC. We need to focus in three important fields, that is field number 41A, available with, available by. This is mandatory field. Then field number 42C, drafts 8. It is an optional field. And field number 42A, drawee. This is again optional field. So field number 41A, available with and by. So let us understand the mandatory field, field number 41A, available with and by. Here we go. LC available with bank. Okay. So field number 41A of MT700, that is available with by, can be defined as under. Available with means this field indicates the bank authorized to honor, that is to pay, to incur a deferred payment undertaking, or accept a draft and pay at maturity, or negotiate. It identifies the bank authorized for presentation, therefore the utilization of a LC means where the beneficiary will present the documents and utilize the LC. This is the meaning of LC available with. Article 6A says a credit must state the bank with which it is available or whether it is available with any bank. This is as per UCP article. Issuing bank to nominate the bank at whose counter the LC is available, or in case no bank is specifically nominated, then the LC is called to be freely available with any bank. Let us understand this entire thing with example. So if LC is available with XYZ bank, that means one bank has been nominated. It means that LC is available with a named nominated bank, and beneficiary can present the documents to that nominated bank. In this case, it is XYZ. If LC is available with any bank, that means LC is freely available with any bank. It means beneficiary can present the documents to any bank as per his choice, but obviously subject to that bank should be willing to act on its nomination. LC could be available with issuing bank. Means LC is available only with the issuing bank. In that case, beneficiary can present the documents only to that issuing bank. As per UCP Article 6A, LC available with nominated bank is also available with the issuing bank. What does that mean? It means that beneficiary always has the right to present the documents either to the nominated bank or directly to the issuing bank. So this is the meaning of LC available with. Now quickly we will see LC available by. What does that mean? Available by. This indicates the manner of a LC utilization. That is how a LC is to be utilized. UCP Article 6B says that Each LC must state whether it is available by side payment, by deferred payment, or by acceptance. All three put together falls under the term owner, or LC is available by negotiation. So ALC may be made available by owner or negotiation with a name nominated bank or any bank, or be made available by owner with the issuing bank only. Please note that LC cannot be made available with issuing bank by negotiation. Owner means if a LC is available by side payment, means to pay at site. If LC is available by deferred payment, owner means to incur a deferred payment undertaking and pay at maturity. If LC is available by acceptance, owner means to accept a bill of exchange, that is nothing but draft drawn by the beneficiary and pay at maturity. Negotiation. Negotiation, it means in simple terms, purchase of draft and or documents under a compliant presentation before the reimbursement is due to the nominated bank from the issuing bank. In case of negotiation, nominated bank gives or they advance their own fund to the beneficiary before the date that reimbursement is due from the issuing bank. So this was the meaning of LC available with and LC available by. Why it was needed? Because this will help us to understand draft to be drawn on whom. LC available by versus requirement of draft. Let us understand this. If LC is available by side payment, the draft is not mandatory. Simple. LC may or may not stipulate a requirement for side draft because drafts may attract stamp duty in some countries. A LC may be issued without a requirement for a draft in case LC is available by side payment. But in case draft is stipulated under LC, that side draft must be drawn on the bank with which the LC is available with. If LC is available with nominated bank XYZ, in that case, side draft to be drawn on XYZ bank. If LC is available with any bank, means freely available, the draft should be drawn on the bank to which presentation is intended to be made, subject to that bank willing to act on its nomination. If that LC is available with issuing bank, in that case, side draft to be drawn on the issuing bank. So this was the case when LC is available by side payment. What about LC available by deferred payment? In this case, the draft is not required. LC will not stipulate a requirement for a draft. In case of deferred payment, payment is not immediate, and it is the case of usance LC. Next is LC available by acceptance. In this case, a usance draft is mandatory. Payment is not immediate, and it is also a case of usance LC. So in case of LC available by deferred payment, draft is not needed at all. But in case of LC available by acceptance, draft is mandatory. The draft must be drawn on the bank with which the LC is available by acceptance. If LC is available with a named bank, XYZ bank, in that case, usance draft to be drawn on XYZ bank. If LC is available with any bank, means freely available, the draft to be drawn on the bank to which presentation is intended to be made, subject to that bank agrees to accept the draft and is thereby willing to act on its nomination. If that LC is available with issuing bank, in that case, draft to be drawn on the issuing bank. The next is LC available by negotiation. In this case, the draft is not mandatory. Most of the time, we think that LC available by negotiation means draft is compulsory. No, draft in case of LC available by negotiation is not mandatory. In that case, the nominated bank negotiates the documents, and the issuing bank, when it receives the documents, pays the side documents or incur a deferred payment undertaking and pay at maturity the usance documents. But if LC is available by negotiation and there is a stipulation of draft under LC, in that case, that draft must be drawn on a bank other than the nominated bank. This is very important. Draft to be drawn on the bank other than the nominated bank in case LC is available by negotiation. This differentiates negotiation from acceptance, because in case of LC available by acceptance, draft to be drawn on the nominated bank if LC is available with nominated bank. But in case of LC available by negotiation, draft to be drawn on a bank other than the nominated bank. In this case, the nominated bank negotiates the drafts and documents, and the issuing bank, when it receives the documents, pays the side draft or accepts the usance draft and pay at maturity. So you can observe that only in case of LC available by acceptance, a usance draft is mandatory. Otherwise, in case of LC available by side payment, LC available by negotiation, draft is not mandatory. And in case LC available by deferred payment, the draft is not needed at all. Therefore, in case of LC available by acceptance, it is the only scenario when draft is mandatory. UCP Article 6C says a credit must not be issued available by a draft drawn on the applicant. With this background, I am going to tell you in one slide, in a very simple manner, draft to be drawn on whom under LC. Let us see. In case LC available by side payment, draft is not mandatory. So there is no question of draft to be drawn on whom. But in case LC available by side payment and there is a stipulation of side draft, LC available with nominated bank, in that case, draft to be drawn on nominated bank. In case LC is available with any bank, side draft to be drawn on the bank that is willing to act on its nomination. If LC is available with issuing bank, in that case, this side draft to be drawn on issuing bank. In case LC is available by deferred payment, draft is not required. In case of LC available by acceptance, draft is mandatory. And if LC is available with nominated bank, draft to be drawn on that nominated bank. If LC is available with any bank, usance draft to be drawn on the bank that is willing to act on its nomination. If LC is available with issuing bank, in case of LC available by acceptance, draft to be drawn on issuing bank. So in case of LC available by negotiation, draft is not mandatory. And please note that LC cannot be issued available by negotiation with issuing bank, as issuing bank only can honor and issuing bank does not negotiate. If LC is available by negotiation and if LC stipulates side draft, LC available with nominated bank, in that case, draft to be drawn on issuing bank. In the same scenario, when LC is available with any bank instead of one particular named nominated bank, draft to be drawn on the issuing bank. Means in case of LC available by negotiation, draft to be drawn on other than nominated bank. If LC is available by negotiation and if LC stipulates usance draft, LC available with nominated bank, most of the cases draft to be drawn on issuing bank. But few of the times we can observe that draft also can be drawn on reimbursing bank if the reimbursing bank is providing financing. Likewise, if LC available with any bank, the same thing, draft will be drawn on issuing bank or maybe on reimbursing bank. And please note, as per URR 725, Article 6E, an issuing bank should not require a side draft to be drawn on the reimbursing bank. So this was total synopsis of draft to be drawn on whom. It will depend LC available with which bank and LC available by side payment, or LC available by negotiation, or LC available by acceptance. Few more concepts on this I would like to highlight here one by one. Key difference between availability by acceptance and by deferred payment is the use of draft in acceptance credit. In case of LC available by acceptance, usance draft is mandatory, whereas in case of LC available by deferred payment, draft is not needed at all. It is not required. LC available by acceptance or deferred payment can be made available solely with the issuing bank and be also available with a nominated bank or any bank. If LC is available with nominated bank, drafts for a LC available by side payment or acceptance are drawn on the nominated bank. Where a LC is available by side payment or acceptance with any bank, drafts to be drawn on any bank subject to that bank is willing to act on its nomination. Where a LC is available by side payment or acceptance with the issuing bank only, drafts will be drawn on the issuing bank. If the draft is drawn on a nominated bank or issuing bank, it being the drawee can only honor. Such a bank can never negotiate. Hence, an issuing bank honors, it never negotiates. Therefore, LC cannot be made available with issuing bank by negotiation. If LC is available by negotiation with nominated bank, draft to be drawn on a bank other than the nominated bank. When the draft is drawn on the issuing bank or reimbursing bank, and if the LC is available with bank other than the issuing bank, that is LC is available with a nominated bank, the LC is said to be available by negotiation with nominated bank. A LC that is available with a nominated bank by negotiation very often requires the presentation of a draft drawn on the issuing bank at site or usance terms. Please note that in case LC available by negotiation, draft is not mandatory. All LCs where the nominated bank is not the drawee, bank may be termed as LC available by negotiation with the nominated bank. And last, for a LC available by negotiation, only a nominated bank can negotiate. So far, I have covered few more points on how the draft to be drawn under LC. Now, I will give you few clues where LC is not properly structured, or you can say that draft is not properly asked under LC. Let us see those examples also. Here we go. There are 4 scenarios, serial number 1, 2, 3, 4. Let us discuss scenario number 1. LC available with an empty bank by side payment, draft is needed, side draft has been asked, drawee is XYZ bank, which is a confirming bank. What is the issue with this scenario? Here you can observe LC is available with nominated bank and NT by side payment. In that case, draft should not be drawn on another bank. Draft should be drawn on an empty bank only. So let us discuss second scenario. LC available with any bank by acceptance. Draft is definitely needed. 90 days from bill of lading. Drawee is ABC Bank, which is issuing bank. What is the challenge with this type of scenario? Challenge is a LC available with a nominated bank by acceptance should not ask the draft to be drawn on an issuing bank. Nominated bank cannot provide acceptance to a draft drawn on another bank. Draft is to be drawn on the bank that agrees to accept the draft in case LC available with any bank, and is thereby that bank is willing to act on its nomination, that is nominated bank. If draft is to be drawn on the issuing bank, LC should be made available with nominated bank by negotiation instead of acceptance. Let us discuss the third scenario. LC available with any bank in India, available by negotiation, draft, yes, 90 days from bill of lading has been stipulated, drawee, negotiating bank. What is the challenge or problem with this type of structure? A LC available with a nominated bank by negotiation should not ask draft to be drawn on the nominated bank. Negotiation means purchase of draft drawn on a bank other than the nominated bank. Okay, so draft, if any, should be drawn on the bank other than the nominated bank. So if draft is to be drawn on the nominated bank, LC should be available with nominated bank by acceptance instead of negotiation. So let us discuss the fourth scenario. LC available with XYZ bank, that is confirming bank, available by negotiation. Draft has been asked 90 days from bill of lading. Drawee is XYZ confirming bank. What is the challenge? What is the difficulties in this case? Let us discuss. A LC available with a confirming bank by negotiation should not be asked for draft to be drawn on the confirming bank, because that will be the scenario when LC is available by acceptance. In case of LC is available by negotiation, draft to be drawn on a bank other than the nominated bank. So simple. So I hope that this video would have given value to all of you as far as draft to be drawn on whom under LC. If that is the case, I request you to like and share this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I help the bankers to prepare for CDCS exam. If you are interested to clear CDCS exam, then you can contact me on my WhatsApp number 9099964682. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thanks a lot.